I grew up loving to go to the movies, and it was a big deal back then. It wasn't like today where there's 15 screens. You had a big screen, you had a lot of seats, and I will admit they didn't have the reclining seats that you have now, but those can be dangerous because you can end up falling asleep like I have a tendency to do and miss half the movie. But I loved going to the movies, and so did my mother. She was fascinated with them. In fact, I was named after Ronald Reagan. And when you tell people that you were named after Ronald Reagan today, oftentimes people will say, well, that's really cool. He was a great president. And then I have to break the news to them that it had nothing to do with him as president and everything to do with him as a movie star because my mom loved the movies. One time, my wife Jenny and we were watching a movie. And she's great at just introducing some of the black and white movies back in the day. And I think this one was with Tony Curtis and someone else. And it was a romantic movie, and they had fallen in love. And at the very end of the movie, they end up breaking up, and he walks down the street. And the camera pans out as he's walking down the street, and of course the screen goes to black and the credits start coming up. And I remember just being super bummed that the movie ended that way. I hate it when movies just end and you're not ready for them to end. So I was a little bummed out about that, and I turned to Jenny and I said, "Do you think they got back together again?" She looked at me a little bit puzzled and she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Do you think that they ended up getting back together?" And she was still puzzled. And she said, "Ron, the movie's over." And I said, yeah, I know the movie's over, but do you think they got back together again?" And she said, "Ron, it's a movie. The movie's over." Movies and stories can captivate you that way. And everybody has stories, and some are sad and some are exciting, and there's some that have moments of sadness and moments of joy. But the reality is that we don't know in the present what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen next year. We don't know what's going to happen this side of heaven. And that can be discouraging a lot of times. It can especially be discouraging when you look around and you see some of the crazy things that are happening in the world today. But here's the deal. It is true, as Jenny said, it was just a movie and it ended. And we didn't know whether they got back together or not, much to my dismay. But here's what we do know as Christians. And I love what Jesus said as recorded in the Gospel of John, chapter 14. He says, "Let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, that where I am, you may be also." Isn't that incredible news? The glorious truth that we know that there's more. We know how it's going to end. It's going to end when we're absent from this body and we're present with the Lord Jesus Christ. Oh, that should encourage our hearts no matter what's going on in our lives personally or in the world around us.